Southern Miss wins the Sun Belt. The Ragin Cajuns have to wait for the selection show. It's the Locked On Sun Belt.
You are Locked On Sun Belt, your daily podcast on the Sun Belt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to another edition of Locked On Sun Belt, your team every day. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. Southern Miss takes it from the Cajuns. They win the Sun Belt Conference tournament, and you got to give it up to Justin Short. You know, we'll get into all of the game here, but my goodness, he pitched extremely well. I thought the Cajuns, I'm not even sure they ran out of gas. They ran into the number one seed, right? I mean, they took down the number 2 seed twice on Saturday, and Southern Miss played one less game. They have more pitching. They got a lot of pitching in game 4 and a lot of pitching in game 1 from 2 guys. So they had more, as you would expect, than the Ragin Cajuns. It turns out Southern Miss will not be hosting a regional. Coastal Carolina will be hosting a regional. And we're wondering if the Cajuns are going to get in. I've been saying on my radio show on 103.3 The GOAT here in Lafayette that I just didn't think they would. I don't really want to be a mid-40s, now upper 40s RPI. I've seen that movie before. They kind of need to be in the 30s. They seem to be right on the border. Heading into the action today, D1 baseball had them in. And with Tulane's win, though, and Tulane getting the automatic berth out of that conference, that's going to take an at-large berth away from somebody else. And that very well could be the Cajuns. So we'll see. I hope they get in. And people have them going to D1 baseball, had them going to Baton Rouge. So we've been there, done that before. In fact, they had LSU, Nichols, and the Cajuns, and I think along with Maryland. So that would be one heck of a regional in Baton Rouge this week. LSU is obviously hosting SEC. What a shock. 8 sites. And really one of the crazier stories of the year, and I know it's another podcast, but how about Alabama hosting? Like a month ago, Alabama was not making the tournament. Their coach was fired for maybe gambling against the team, not only on the team, on the games that he's managing, but maybe against them. They go from like not being in the tournament to hosting the tournament. So congrats to Alabama. Usually we don't see Alabama as an underdog in most cases, but congrats to them for turning their season around. All right, let's talk about this ball game today. Southern Miss beats the Cajuns 6-2, and it was a little bit back and forth to begin with. It was Nico Mazza versus Fluno, and both guys were pitching really well. Carson Fluno for the Cajuns, Nico Mazza for Southern Miss, and overall their lines were pretty similar. Mazza 3 1/3 innings, 3 base hits, 2 runs, both earned, a couple of walks, 5 strikeouts. Fluno only gave up the 2 solo home runs. He went 4 innings, 4 base hits, 2 runs, 2 earned, no walks, 5 punch-outs. He gave up solo home runs. I think they hit 3 on the day. But he gave up solo home runs to Dickerson and the legend Danny Lynch comes through again. And those were the 2 runs that Fluno gave up. I'm not sure how much this means in baseball. I really don't. And momentum is just more psychological than anything else, right? We see it in football. We see it in basketball. And they say momentum in baseball goes with your starting pitcher for the next day. But the Cajuns had Southern Miss on the ropes in the 4th inning. I don't know how big of an inning it could have been. Don't know if it would have made a difference in the end. But Southern Miss was up 1-0 on, I believe the Dickerson home run was first. Cajuns put 2 on the board in the 4th, and they remove Mazza to bring in, did I say Justin Short? Justin Storm. Sorry if I got that wrong the first time. Justin Storm was outstanding today. But John Taylor, so it's lefty versus lefty. He hits, the Cajuns have 2 on and a 1 out. Taylor hits a hot shot through the left side, gets out to the left fielder quickly. Running from second base was the Cajuns catcher, Brock. I'm a big fan of him. Julian Brock's going to get drafted. He's going to, he's got a shot as a good offensive and defensive catcher to play in the big leagues. But he has caught every inning, as I'm sure most of the guys have in this tournament. Or in his case, though, he's catching 6 games in 5 days. Pro guys don't catch 5 games in 5 days, whether it be at the minor league level or the major league level. Somewhere in there, someone's going to get a day off. And I just wouldn't have sent him. The left fielder got to the ball. Ewing got to the ball, or the ball got to Ewing, whichever way you want to look at it, before Brock was on at third base. It's like a full stride or 2 away from third base. This was not a close play at home. You would have had the bases loaded. You would have had lefty against lefty again. Now, who knows? CJ Willis bounces out to first. Maybe it's the same thing. Maybe he bounces out to first, which was right at the bag, steps on first, could throw to second, could throw home, and it's a double play. Who knows? But Brock should not have been thrown home, or should not have been sent home. Again, I don't know if it would have made a difference, but it did not even need to be a perfect throw. And I will say, in this case, Ewing's throw was on the money and well in advance of Brock getting to the plate. But even if it was up the line, either line, Brock would have been out. And after that play, Southern Miss outscored the Cajuns 4-1. Justin Short just locked in. He was, I said it again, Justin Storm was outstanding. 5 2/3 innings, 3 base hits, 2 walks, 8 punch outs. And it kind of felt like, well, a couple things happened. First, Lynch hit the game-tying home run in the 4th inning, so he got momentum from that. They scored a run in the 5th inning, and he got momentum from that. So his adrenaline was pumping up. I got to figure, the bigger lead they got, the more he was going to feel good pitching for Southern Miss. So I certainly can't take away from him anything from him. I don't know why I'm calling him Justin Short, but it was Justin Storm. He was outstanding. All right. So Southern Miss, they did have Tanner Hall warming up, but they never needed to get to him. Wilkes, a 2-run home run in the 7th inning, and an insurance run if they needed it in the 8th. Nothing to hang your head upon if you're the Cajuns. They played a whale of a tournament. Again, beating Texas State 5 times in one season, beating Coastal twice in one day, and, having a lead, heading to the bottom half of the 4th inning against Southern Miss. Again, I'm really a big fan of being aggressive. I think you make the other team make a play, but I think you have to take everything into account. And sending Brock home was a poor decision. All right. They executed it. Southern Miss did. Cajuns didn't, but it just seemed to be not the best of all spots to do that. Again, I'm not saying it would have made a difference, but bad spot to do that. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll go over all the regions, just tell you who the hosts are and where the Cajuns are potentially if they're going to get in. All right, let's take a timeout, and I can tell you about Built Bars. If we can find it here. There we are. And I got them. Here we go. I got my Built Bars. Where's my video? There we go. I got my brownie batter. There you go. I got my double chocolate. All right. And we need to go get more. I'm almost out. Probably we'll be going back and forth this week to Baton Rouge to cover the LSU regional, and whether the Cajuns are there or not. And these are going to come in handy because I need to start losing weight. I got a goal. I weighted pretty good today. Going home to Central New York in 3 weeks, and we were trying to get down to 207. I weighed in at 210 today. All right, so that's pretty good. So that's not bad, right? I was much higher than that, but now with the help of these Built Bars, I am losing the weight. All right, looking for a delicious snack, but don't want all of the sugar and calories? Then you need the best tasting protein bar ever. Built, you got to try this, If you're like me and you want to make healthier snack choices, but you don't want to compromise on taste, I've got just the thing for you. Built Bars and Built Puffs. Built Bars are healthy and taste amazing. They taste so amazing, you won't think they're good for you. What makes Built Bars so good? Well, for starters, they're covered in 100% real dark chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and cookies and cream. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And what's even better is that they're healthy. Only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar with a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't need to wait to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering Built Bars at Built.com, but now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club, while you can still get your specialty flavors at Built.com. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today. Walk up to the pharmacy section to grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate bar, or coconut puff. The better deal, if you can get to Sam's. If you're close to Sam's, run in and grab a 13-bar box of our hit flavors, brownie, batter puff, and churro puff. You can thank me later. The churro puffs, in my case, usually go first. So, yeah, we'll probably go back and forth. I don't know if I'm going to make Friday's ball game in Baton Rouge, but certainly Saturdays and Sundays would be the plan. And the thing is, you can get the stuff at the concession stands and put weight on, or I can snack on these and not put weight on, all right? Or at least not as much. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let me see if we can find the list of regionals, because these were done. They were listed tonight, and they're in alphabetical order. So that's where they're not done. They were not. We didn't find out like LSU is a certain seed or something along those lines. We just found out that they are hosting. I guess the best place would be, and they were done. They were done in alphabetical order, and Wake Forest was like the last one, which is funny because they're like the number one team in the nation. All right. Auburn, who went on that great run last year, they are hosting. Then you have Baton Rouge, of course. You have Virginia, Charlottesville is hosting. Clemson is hosting. Columbia is hosting. You got Coastal Carolina. They were a 15 seed or a 15 RPI after they lost a couple of games to the Cajuns. So they probably at one point in time had a chance to be a national seed, but they didn't win the Sun Belt regular season, nor did they win the Sun Belt Crown tournament. So they deserve to be a host, but probably not going to be a national seed. Arkansas is hosting. Gainesville is hosting. Lexington is hosting. Like 8 of the 16 host sites are SEC. Vanderbilt is hosting. Stanford is hosting. Oklahoma State is hosting. Indiana State is hosting. I'm sure we'll get some Larry Bird stories for that. And again, we mentioned at the top of the show, Alabama is hosting. It's a great story. It's a great story that the team turned things around, but we're starting to get more information on that whole gambling deal, and that may be a black eye for Alabama sports. And you do have Winston-Salem. Wake Forest is hosting. Okay. Can the Cajuns get in? We've seen a couple of different places where they are barely in. I believe D1 Baseball, and this is going to hurt, has them as the last team out. Or the first team out, not the last team. The first team out. Earlier in the day, they were first team in. Or we'll try that again. Earlier in the day, they were the last team in at 64. And now it appears that D1 Baseball has the Cajuns as the first team out, like 65. All right. The College Baseball Podcast does not have the Cajuns in. College Baseball Nation, and take these for what they're worth, they do have the Cajuns in. We'll see. Back when I first got here, and they were in first place in Marshall, and I think they lost to Troy at home, but then they went on the road and they got swept by James Madison. Now, James Madison had a nice run at the end of the season, partly because they swept the Cajuns, but you can't be getting swept by James Madison. At the time, James Madison was like one of the worst teams in the Sun Belt. They were 11th. They were playing awful. You had a chance to beat them on that Friday night, and you gave up, I think, a pinch hit, 3-run home run, and that's where it is, right? And in this case, right, whereas the softball team, Let's see if we have this here. Whereas the softball team for the Cajuns had like one of the most difficult schedules. In this case, the Cajuns do not. They have an okay schedule, but their non-conference strength of schedule is 123. So that's not going to help. Their strength of schedule overall is 67. So I hope they get in. They were 45 when the day began. They were 46 when the day began. Somewhere around noon, or when I did the other podcast, they went up to 45, and then down to 47. They actually went down to 48 somewhere along the way, and now they're back up to 47. It's going to be a tough spot for the Cajuns. They certainly have, Jackson Nezu can pitch well. Carson Fluno can pitch well. Their bats can hang with anybody. As most teams right now in college baseball don't have much depth after that. Cajuns, again, played 6 games in 5 days. And, for half the game, gave Southern Miss all they could handle. So we will see if they get in. Having said that, Troy is expected to be in. They have a 38 RPI. And their non-conference, how about that? Their non-conference RPI is 6. Their non-conference strength of schedule is 15. That's how they're going to get in over the Cajuns. All right. Then you have Southern Miss, who 21. All right. Remember last year, Southern Miss actually not only hosted a regional, but then they beat LSU. Then they hosted a super regional in which they lost in. And then you have Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina actually is up. I'm looking at Warren Nolan. They're up to 14. So they were actually at 15, now at 14. And they are hosting. We'll see if Coastal's bats don't come alive, they're not going to go. They need to be scoring 8 to 9 runs a game. And they have already faced the Cajuns pitching. It's going to be interesting if they face pitchers that they haven't seen before. Of course, it could be the same thing. The pitchers haven't seen the hitters before, but I think it's more difficult the other way. So I think with Coastal, Southern Miss, and Troy, they have a legit shot. Somebody to go to a super regional. All right. Obviously, Coastal is hosting, so they're going to be favored to win their regional. And, again, if LSU doesn't turn things around, that is not exactly the scariest of rotations all of a sudden. I mean, Paul Skeens just lost. Tommy White's banged up. Ty Floyd can go 6 or 7 innings, but who gets the 6 outs in the 8th and the 9th? For LSU, they are hanging on by a thread. They'll still be favored. I'm going to guess they're a national seed, and going from that, again, anything less than Omaha for LSU this year is a lost season, disappointing season. Winning it is a different story, and they are banged up. In LSU's defense, they have lost a bunch of pitching. But it'll be interesting to see if the Cajuns get in by the hair on their skinny teeth on the hopefully they can get in. I don't know if they can get in. I don't think so. I didn't think they were going to get in for the last 3 weeks. I just didn't think they were going to get in. I hope I am wrong. All right, let's put a bow on it. When we come back, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. All right, thanks very much for tuning in to Locked On Sunbelt. I appreciate everybody who has subscribed on YouTube. We appreciate it. Any comments, I'm happy to answer them. It is me. I don't have anybody doing it for me. Don't have AI to do it, although I haven't figured out how to do that. Maybe I can. But no, it is me. I will respond. Please like and share. And then if you see it in social media, do the same. Also, don't forget, you can listen to Locked On Sunbelt wherever you get your audio podcasts from. Amazon, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeart, wherever. Just search Locked On Sunbelt, and you can find it there. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Once again, to recap, Southern Miss defeats the UL Ragin Cajuns 6-2 in the Sunbelt Championship ball game. One huge play turned the game around. Julian Brock getting thrown out at the plate. Cajuns would have had bases loaded and 1 out. C.J. Willis at the plate. Instead, Willis ends up bouncing out to first after Brock is thrown out. And from there, it was all Southern Miss. Southern Miss hits 3 home runs in the ball game. I'm not sure the Cajuns got some leadoff guys on after that, but I'm not sure how many times they got multiple guys on. But, clutch base hit here and a clutch base hit there, and all of a sudden, you never know. But again, hat tip to Southern Miss. And again, let's get his name right. Justin Storm. I was going to say short again. Justin Storm, outstanding in relief. Nico Mazza, 5 2/3 innings, 3 base hits, 2 walks, 8 punch outs. He was fantastic. And so I guess he had pitched in the tournament before, so wasn't like he was completely fresh. And just in case they had Tanner Hall warming up, which I presumed was going to be the case once Mazza was going for Southern Miss, that Scott Berry was going to try to avoid pitching Tanner Hall on short rest, but if necessary, he could probably go 1 inning. But that would be interesting to see on how these guys do it. Everyone thinks that Paul Skeens is going to go game 2 for LSU. I'm not sure if you can, I guess you want to put the pressure on the other team, but you lose that Saturday game, you gotta come back fast. That's not an easy one to lose either. What happens if you lose game 1? Now you really got a task. Now you don't just got to play like 5 ball games, right? You only have to win 3, but if you lose on game 1, right, then you got to play. Don't you got to play twice on Saturday and twice on Sunday? Something like that. It is. It's a lot. You got to win 3 games in a double elimination weekend series. All right. So we will come back, and on tomorrow's episode, we'll have the regionals. We will find out where Southern Miss is going. We'll find out if Troy makes it, and we will find out if the Ragin Cajuns make it. I have my doubts, but I'm still hoping. All right. I would rather be, in this case, wrong than I told you so. All right. Until then, enjoy the holiday. We have it off at 103.3, so we will be paying attention to the regionals when they are announced on Monday. All right. We'll be back again on Tuesday with another episode of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day.